What is up, family? This is Living Beyond the Dream podcast, where we're having practical conversations to turn the dreams you have for your church or yourself into a reality. My name is Mike, joined by my man Tyler today. And I want to first thank you guys for everybody that's been listening, that's been sharing, all that you have been subscribing. You have really just been blessing us. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do that. And also rate and review that. It helps us get our name out there even more. But we've been extremely blessed by all the feedback we're getting. Yeah. It's encouraging, and I'm excited. And I'm excited about what we're talking about today. So let's dive in, my man.
Yeah. Super exciting topic. We're going to be talking about setting the bar high and how excellence reflects character. And I absolutely love the timing of this episode. We're now in 2019, and people are looking at their churches and organizations and how to grow. So this is a great episode for setting goals and just overall culture shaping. But you make a statement, Mike, that it is disrespectful to God that we are disciples of the creator of the universe, and we give him less than our absolute best on Sundays.
Yes.
So diving in real quick.
Okay.
But can you
go in there.
Explain that?
Well, that's a fire and brimstone message, I guess, right there, right? We're going to start right off the bat, right? I'm going to beat you over the head with a black King James Bible. Come on, somebody. You know what? To be honest with you, I make that statement because I feel like it is disrespectful when we cut corners.
Yeah.
When we know that God's equipped us, given us every opportunity as possible, yet we squander those opportunities. Yeah. I feel like it's disrespectful. We know Sunday's coming up every single week. Mm-hmm. And though we don't use our time wisely to give him the best and make sure every single week we're going to honor him. Paul says that our lives are living sacrifices, right? So we give ourselves to God as living sacrifice. He says work as though you're doing it for God, right? So we need to understand that every single Sunday is an opportunity to honor God and the people of God by giving our best. Yeah. But too many times we don't, and we think we can just get off the hook by it. But if you read in like Malachi, which is one of my favorite little sections there, but Malachi chapter 1, God's actually scolding God's people, goes, why are you bringing me offerings that are not your best? Yeah. Why are you bringing me offerings that are detestable, offerings that are diseased, offerings that are... He goes, you try bringing that to the governor as your taxes and see how well that's going to work out for you. Yeah. Yet you bring it to me, God, without giving me your best. And I think that's kind of like a drop the mic kind of moment, like a little slap you in the face kind of moment, because what God's saying here is as people, as believers, as children of God, when we have opportunities to give ourselves as living sacrifices, we should give the best of who we are, right? So every Sunday, when we're going into as leaders of the church, we should give our absolute best. We should honor people that come to our church every Sunday. Whether it be 30 people or 30,000 people, we should love them and honor them, and they should get our absolute best. We should be prepared when we're delivering our messages, that we worked hard to prepare it. We should, when we're worshiping and leading worship, make sure we are prepared and steward the time to put in the grind. When we're cleaning the building and the facilities we've been given, we should steward that and give it and make sure it's honoring and be excellent. So when we come into a Sunday and we just getting by and we're just shooting from the hip, what we're basically saying is, I'm taking it off. I have B Sundays. Yeah. And there's no B Sundays when we are the children of God, honoring God. We're the hands and feet of God. So we should honor him that way.
Yeah, that's really good. I think, an easy example to look at is, like you touched on, worship, like knowing the songs. Like if anyone does confidence monitors, and those were to go out, or you didn't learn the lyrics.
And they do go out. They do go out. Tech, I love it. But man, it drives me crazy sometimes. Come on.
Yeah, we have had our fair share.
Yes, right.
Yeah, but that's the prime example of if you didn't learn the lyrics and that goes out, you don't know. I mean, you don't know what you're singing, so then you're not giving your best. I mean, it's awful.
It'll get you.
But going off of tech, I mean, and this is a common topic that we touch on our show, but money. With giving your best. It's a common theme, but the money aspect of this, church down the road has a $4 million budget, so they're able to be more excellent than us. They can set the bar higher. Why is this so dangerous to have that mindset?
Because that has nothing to do with excellence. Excellence has nothing to do with what you have. It has everything to do with what you do with what you have.
That's so good.
That's all excellence is, because the reality is if you think that if you had XYZ and that would actually make you excellent and successful, you're not going to be successful.
Yeah.
You're going to be the exact same place you are. You just going to have more stuff.
Yeah.
Because success is not cosmetic, it's foundational.
Ooh.
And what you have to learn and understand is that excellence is a reflection of stewardship, not a reflection of possessions.
That's good.
And until you realize that God's not going to give you much unless you've done a lot with little, you're never going to walk in what you think is quote unquote worldly success or what you think is quote unquote success in your church. Because what you're thinking is you can buy success. You can't buy success.
Yeah.
What you do is you earn success by being excellent with what you've been given, by being a steward with what God has already entrusted you with, and then watching yourself grow into that, right?
Yeah.
I've heard it said like this: why do you think God gonna give you a new car if you trash the car you already have, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you can't take care of what you already been given, why do you think He's gonna give you a brand spanking new car?
Yeah.
Well, that's the same thing with your church, your organization. If you can't be honoring with what you've already been given and excellent with what you've been given, you're not going to get what the church down the road has. Because guess what? They didn't start that way.
Yeah.
They worked themselves that way.
Yeah.
They earned it over time by being stewards of what they've been given. And that's the reality in your organization.
Yeah. Do you think that breeds any sort of attitude of competition with other churches?
Well, competition's a tricky thing to kind of wrap your head around.
Yeah.
Because here's the reality. We don't compete with any other churches.
Right.
We're on the same team of other churches. We are building the body of Christ. We go all party in the same heaven together.
Yeah.
We are partners in this mission to reach our communities with the gospel of Jesus Christ. Now, with that said, there are too many times where we let jealousy and envy creep in, and we start looking negatively at the church down the road.
Yeah.
We start thinking they have something that we don't have because they got special advantages and treatment that we don't get. And so then we start looking at it as a more of a pity situation and looking at them negatively.
Yeah.
So that's unhealthy, 100%. But I will say that competition and the mindset around competition can be healthy when you frame it this way. You're competing with this idea that people want to go to a life-giving church. And if they come to your church and you're not honoring them and they don't feel like you expected them to be there and they walked into something that was uncomfortable or unhealthy, they're going to leave your church and they're going to find a church that is life-giving that fits that needs.
Yeah.
And our goal, if we are pastors, we want to grow our church. We want people to come and stick and stay and thrive and grow. So we need to compete with this idea that if we can't be excellent, they're going to find a church that is.
Yeah.
If we can't steward the opportunities that we've been given, that means people coming, first-time visitors coming. We can't steward those opportunities and start seeing health in their lives. They're going to go find another church that can steward that.
Yeah.
So we're competing with this idea that people are searching, and we can either be the church that they connect with and thrive in or not.
Yeah.
I heard it said like this, that I saw a study a while back that women will actually go and shop at a grocery store that is more expensive because it's cleaner, more organized, and looks more excellent put together.
Yeah.
Why? Because it lowers their anxiety and they feel more comfortable being in that space. It's not the prices. So they're willing to pay the extra price for comfort and to have their anxiety lowered.
Wow.
The same is true in your church. When you go into a church that's not excellent, when the transitions are awkward and people look like they're not prepared and the pastor looks like he just printed the sermon notes right before he walked on and he's reading the whole time and he's stumbling over himself and the worship team looks like that's the first time they ever heard the songs played and the greeters didn't even expect you to be there. And when you go to check in your kids, they're like, what? Like they don't even understand what it's like to have a new. When somebody walks in, what do you think they're going to be? Their anxiety is going to be through the roof. They're going to be uncomfortable the whole time. They're not going to be susceptible to receive what you're trying to deliver and what the Holy Spirit's trying to do in their life. And they're going to leave that place going, I can't go back there.
Yeah.
Because that was not conducive to my health. That was actually conducive to me freaking out. So they're going to go find a church that can actually fulfill those voids.
Yeah.
So that's the idea we're competing with, right?
Yeah.
We're competing with, like Paul says, I'm going to do whatever it takes to see people experience Jesus, right? So we're competing with this idea that people need Jesus, and we cannot be a hindrance. We have to be something that can help be a conduit to see them experience the presence of God.
Yeah. So with a healthy mindset of competition, How important then is it to have organizations or leaders to look up to or gain inspiration from to set the bar high?
Well, I mean, we're always growing, right? We talked about this last week or a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
Constantly evolving. So we want to look at other people as an inspiration, not as something we want to be a carbon copy of,
Right.
but as an inspiration, right?
I think that's key.
Well, too many churches are carbon copies,
Yes.
right? And when you're a carbon copy of something else, you're a lesser version of the original, right?
Come on, yeah.
You're a faded version of the original.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be as effective, right?
Yep.
So we're not trying to duplicate exactly what someone else does, but we do get inspired by success. We're inspired by excellence. We're inspired by what other people are doing, disciplines and ideas and innovation, right? So what we're looking at is saying, how can we be innovative with what we've been given by being inspired? So I look at us like this. We're like sponges. And when we're a sponge, we can either absorb what's around us and then squeeze it out into our organizations.
Yeah.
Or have you ever seen those sponges on your sinks that are dried up
Yeah.
and brittle
Hate 'em.
because they haven't been absorbing anything?
Yep.
That's what too many people are, right? They go into this know-it-all mentality and they know nothing. They go into this opportunities to think that they got to push everybody away because they're competing with other churches instead of completing other churches.
Yeah.
And what happens is now they become brittle, hard, and then they start corroding
Yeah.
to the point that they have to be discarded.
Yeah.
And that's where I say this. Competition will either breed excellence or extinction. And so when we understand that we're competing with this idea that we can be better, we're growing, and other churches inspire us to continue to grow, we can either continue to be excellent or we can watch ourselves head for extinction and lose the very thing that we love, the organization that we're fighting for, the dreams that we want to have.
Yeah.
So what we're using is competition as not I'm trying to ruin this other organization or that I don't want them to be successful. I'm using it as, hey, healthy. Like, I want to be best. Have you
Yeah.
ever seen like brothers that compete with each other, right?
Yeah.
They love each other. They're family.
Yeah.
But the other brother's like, oh yeah, you did 10 push-ups. Watch, I'm about to do 20, right?
Yeah.
And the other was, oh yeah, you ran that fast. Watch. And it's this healthy competition of, man, you're spurring me, you're encouraging me, right? Paul
Yeah.
did this with giving with the churches, right? Paul wrote in the letters, right? He goes, hey, did you see how much this church gave, right? Let's see if we can outmatch their generosity, right? And there was this healthy, beautiful competition, realizing we are expanding the kingdom of God. So we're encouraging each other to continue to grow, kind of like workout partners,
Yeah.
right? We're
Yeah.
pushing each other to growth, not for the detriment of each other, but for the betterment of each other.
That's good. That's good. And I want to kind of switch gears a little bit and talk specifically to the leader now.
Okay.
Vince Lombardi has a quote. He says, "Perfection
Ooh,
is not."
whoa.
Here it comes.
This is
Say it.
a man straight from the heavens of God, placed into God's country, Green Bay, Wisconsin. The Green Bay Packers are God's team. Dallas, you could be America's team. Green Bay's God's team. Okay, you can continue.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Vince Lombardi has a quote that says, "Perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence." The idea of perfection might be overwhelming to some leaders out there, thinking that they have to be perfect to be excellent or bring any excellence to the table. Personally, did you ever struggle with this? And if so, what were some key actions that helped you kind of switch that mindset?
Oh, 100%. I still struggle with this, right? That we feel we have to be perfect, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, even at the point, there was a couple of services back that I remember some technical issues happening, right? And I'm getting all frustrated and getting all flustered and getting all mad. And then I'm like, whoa, I'm supposed to be worshiping God right now.
Yeah.
So it was like this pause, like I can't go and change those technical issues in the moment, but I can change my heart towards worship.
That's good.
So yes, perfection is an impossible thing to strive for. Now, or to achieve. We can strive to be the best versions of ourselves. And every week we can get better. But when things happen, we can't let it bankrupt us.
Yeah.
We can't let it ruin us. We can't let it shift our moods to unhealthy ways that we're going to start hurting other areas of our organization or other people in our organization and hindering the way we receive what God wants to do in that moment.
Yeah.
So there are things that you have to learn. I can't change that right now. I can change that in the future, but right now, that's what's we're facing.
Yeah.
And I've got to frame my heart to receive what God wants me to receive.
Yeah.
So it's understanding the moments and the seasons of when you have to deal with things.
That's really good.
You can't always fix everything instantly.
Yeah.
And nothing will be perfect. There will be issues.
Yeah. And so keeping that same idea and communicating it to your team, how do you have a culture of striving for excellence but still communicate to your team that it's okay to fail?
Well, you've got to understand the actions that surround that failure, okay? There's no issue with somebody that failed when they gave their best and there was just unforeseen things that happened, right? Like, I mean, there's times when power goes out, a computer crashes, right? Why would I choose somebody out if something like that happened?
Right.
But there's another thing when you fail because you cut corners, you weren't prepared, you didn't give your best, you just threw something together, you were sloppy with your preparation, then that's something that we're going to address and deal with.
Yeah.
So you've got to actually frame what the failure was and the actions that led up to that, right? Because we're not expecting our team to be perfect because they're not Jesus incarnate, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to be perfect. I'm not perfect. There are a million times I fail. But what surrounded that failure? Was it things out of my control? Was it a thing that I just messed up?
Yeah.
Was it something that's just a little abnormal? Or was it because we weren't prepared for the project, the event, the service at hand?
Yeah.
And because we were cutting corners, we led to failure.
Yeah.
So you got to frame what caused that failure.
That's really good. And kind of staying on that topic of teams, how important and I don't know if we've ever touched on this on the show yet.
Okay.
But in regards to recruiting, how important is this attribute, striving for excellence, when looking at hiring someone or bringing someone on board? Is it something that is ingrained, or can it be taught?
It can be taught, but it doesn't need to be taught after you hire the person.
That's good.
Okay?
Yeah.
What it needs to be is you need to look at excellence as a character trait. So taking initiative and striving to be your best and giving your best is something you want someone to have as they're onboarding onto your team.
Yeah.
Now, people inside your organization, because 99% of the things that we do is we promote within, those are things before they become staff, we disciple, they start building that culture, and by the time they're ready for that staff position, they built that.
Yeah.
But we don't want to make the mistake of hiring too quickly. Here's what I tell most leaders do wrong. They give titles too fast.
Yeah.
So here's what I tell people. Give responsibility quickly, titles slowly.
Yeah.
Why? Because if I give someone a responsibility and they don't succeed at it, they know they didn't succeed at it.
Right.
When I gave them a project and they didn't complete that project, they know they didn't.
Yeah.
However, whenever I give them a title and they don't fulfill that responsibility, and I go to try to remove that title from them, they immediately think you're attacking their character and who they are, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is now they are personally attach their identity to a title. You don't necessarily personally attach your identity to a project because you realize I didn't fulfill that project. There's a difference there. So what we're trying to do is onboard people in a healthy way. So you want to build these excellent traits. You want to build stewardship and character inside of them. So by the time they come onto a staff role, it is part of their culture and their DNA.
Yeah, that's really good. And then talking about the culture even further, how do you create a culture of continued excellence? So I've even seen it with some interns before where, they'll get really excited because we've given them a project and they did a great job at the project and they won all the celebration and everything like that. But then we have to tell them that's great, but we expect the same thing on the next project and the next one and the next one following that.
Well, you're never going to get that until you realize you've never arrived, right? And so unless you've gotten that discipline of constantly evolving, you will always have this thing that there's finish lines. And they're not finish lines, they're mile markers.
Yeah.
They're getting you closer to the finish line.
Yeah.
We celebrate small wins, but we anticipate larger wins.
Yeah.
And until we get that ingrained into who we are, we will think we've arrived. Now, I have the problem sometimes I don't celebrate the small wins enough.
Yeah.
So I need to learn that, right? So there is balance either way.
Yeah.
You can be in balance in the fact that all you do is look at the future, never celebrate where you're at. Or you could be so in balance where you're the kind of person that says, hey, I worked out today, so I can go eat a double cheeseburger, right? Because you just tell yourself, I worked out, like, let's go. Yeah, but you ain't losing no more weight because you just, right? So there has to be a balance of when that does. There's a difference between having a cheat meal and having a cheat meal every single day, right? Like, so there's a difference.
Yeah.
So you got to learn that balance. But we celebrate small wins, but we anticipate bigger wins.
That's good.
And realize this, every single week, you can get a little bit closer to your overall goal.
Yeah.
So you might have knocked it out of the park, but guess what? Can you imagine how much more you can knock it out of the park that next event if you can use that as a catapult to grow and learn from? Okay, this was awesome. Where was a weak area, though, that we can fix?
Yeah.
We're still celebrating how awesome this was.
Yeah.
But how can we elevate it to a little bit better next time?
Yeah, that's really good. It's so important to celebrate the wins.
Come on.
So important.
I'm bad at that, so I'm always reminding myself about that.
Well, I think it's tough because, as leaders, it's just something that we have to get in the habit of.
Yes.
There has to be a
routine you have to add to yourself.
So I want to kind of backtrack a little bit and go back to the church as a whole.
Okay.
The statement that, and we said it at the beginning, but the statement that excellence reflects character is so powerful.
Yeah.
And we know how important character is in ministry. People base a lot of things off of character. So can you talk about how striving for excellence has helped you with the congregation?
Well, when people know that you give them your best, they know that they are honored by you.
Yeah.
They have a different respect level for you. And so what you want is to get people to trust you and respect you because they know you always have their best interest at heart.
Yeah.
And here's what I can tell. I never take a week off when I'm speaking. What's that mean? Somebody never gets my C game. They always get my A game.
Yeah.
And so whether I feel out of the weather, whether I feel like it's a small crowd going to be that week because it's a holiday weekend or whatever, it's weird weekends that you have in the church world, I'm still giving them my best. And I had that mentality adopted back when we were 20, 30 people as a church. I remember thinking, I'm going to preach to these 20, 30 people like I'm preaching to 2,000, 3,000 people.
Yeah.
And so when you do that, all of a sudden, they start respecting you and trusting you and wanting to follow you and wanting you to be their leader.
Yeah.
So when you have that as a heart thing, when you have that as a character thing, you can build something because you're not going somewhere alone. People are following you. They're going with you because you've influenced their life in that way.
Yeah.
So realize this. If you can't steward the 20 to 30 people you have, you'll never have the trust and respect level to have 2,000 to 3,000 people.
Yeah.
And that's what many times we do wrong, right? We see people with 30,000 followers on Instagram, and we think, yeah, well, I understand why they're putting out that content.
Yeah.
Well, I only got 60. Well, if you can't put out quality content with 60 people, why do you think 30,000 people is going to want to follow you?
Yeah.
Well, the same is in every area of your life, right? If you can't be diligent in your discipline with what you are given now, how do you think anybody's going to trust you with your money, with their dreams, with their lives? They're not. So learn that art because that builds trust and respect from the people around you.
Yeah, that's really good. And so in closing, real quick, if you could just talk to the person that is scared to set that bar high.
Okay.
Because of the fear of failing.
Here's what I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
Excellence is not one big thing. It's a culmination of small things.
Yeah.
That's what excellence is. Because sometimes we think it's the big thing, right? The big purchase, the big event, the big thing. No, it's the small details that come together and make you excellent.
Yeah.
So here's what I would encourage you to do. Make a list of your weaknesses.
Yeah.
Everything you can think of, right? I mean, we're in the church world, so I'm gonna speak from the church world, right?
Yeah.
Go on a Sunday service and say, what's not excellent, right?
Yeah.
Well, my print materials don't look good, right? I don't like the way this wall's all chipped up. It's dirty, right? We could get a little bit better with some tech here, right? We can look at it, right? Just go through and list, right? My transition speaking's not right. Like there's just awkward transitions, right? I need to learn to preach without notes.
Yeah.
And learn to preach like I'm confident every week. Go through and list it, and then list the easiest to the hardest.
Yeah.
Because here's what I found a lot of people do. They want to go for that big thing right at the very beginning, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you just got to get started.
Yeah.
Just start small and let it snowball into bigger. Start checking the list off, right? And you start going, right? It's easy to paint a wall.
Yeah.
May not be easy to buy a brand new soundboard right away.
Yeah.
But you can afford $40 in paint. You might not be able to afford $4,000 to $10,000, right? So learn to check it off. And as you're growing your organization and you're starting to build that momentum, you're going to start accumulating excellence. Don't literally try to eat the entire elephant in one bite.
Yeah.
Do it one bite at a time.
Yeah.
And watch yourself start finding excellence, finding growth, and finding momentum. Because here's what we say. As leaders, our job is to keep momentum going and morale up. When you're excellent, people are excited, your organization grows, and momentum's going.
That's so good. So good. And honestly, I'm really excited about next week because we're finally.
I think you're excited every week.
I am. I love this. I love this show. I love feeding leaders. I mean, that's what we do. That's what fuels us, right? But next week we're getting into some nuts and bolts.
Okay.
We focus really hard on leadership qualities and character and culture. But next week we're going to be talking about some nuts and bolts with marketing on the social media platforms.
Okay, come on. Yeah, we're going to go there.
Yeah.
So we built our entire church off of social media. 21 people to over 1,600 people. Didn't spend any money on outside marketing. So we're going to help you with that.
Yeah.
Guys, it's been an awesome time. Love being able to share this moment with you. If you're listening to us on a podcast, make sure you subscribe, share it, rate it, review it. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and also ring and ding that bell. And until next week, we pray God's peace.